Some people believe in love at first sight. Others believe in destiny. But Marcus Chen had stopped believing in both the moment his ex-boyfriend posted engagement photos with someone new, exactly 3 weeks after their breakup. Now standing in the frozen foods aisle of a Denver grocery store 2 weeks before Christmas, Marcus was about to discover that sometimes the universe has a twisted sense of humor. And sometimes, the person you least expect walks into your life wearing cowboy boots and a smile that could melt the Colorado snow. This is the story of how a fake date became the realest thing Marcus had ever felt. Marcus's phone buzzed for the 7th time in an hour. He didn't need to look at the screen to know it was his mother. The preview text said it all. "Sweetheart, just confirming you're bringing someone to Christmas dinner. Auntie May is making extra." He groaned, abandoning his shopping cart in the middle of the store. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead, casting everything in that particular shade of commercial desperation that matched his mood perfectly. 3 months ago, he'd foolishly mentioned to his mother that he was seeing someone, back when David was still his boyfriend, back when Marcus thought he'd finally found his person. That was before discovering David had been just friends with Trevor for 6 months while they were together, before the breakup text, before the engagement announcement that felt like a knife twisting in an already healing wound. Marcus was 32 years old, a successful marketing executive with a downtown loft and a 401k. He was supposed to have his life together. Instead, he was hiding behind a display of canned cranberry sauce, contemplating whether he could fake the flu for the entire holiday season. "You look like a man who needs either a drink or a hug," a warm, drawling voice said from behind him. "Maybe both." Marcus turned around and forgot how to breathe. The man standing there was tall, easily 6'3", with broad shoulders that filled out a weathered denim jacket like it was tailored for him. Sunlightened brown hair curled slightly beneath a well-worn Stetson, and his eyes were the color of good whiskey, warm and inviting with little crinkles at the corners that suggested he smiled often. A few days' worth of stubble shadowed a strong jaw, and when he grinned, a dimple appeared in his right cheek. He was holding a basket with nothing but coffee, bread, and what appeared to be ingredients for the saddest bachelor meal Marcus had ever seen. What?" Marcus managed eloquently. The cowboy's grin widened. "Sorry, didn't mean to startle you, but I've been watching you pace this aisle for the past 5 minutes, and you've picked up that same can of cranberry sauce 3 times. Figured you might need someone to talk to." He extended a hand. "Name's Riley Hayes." Marcus shook his hand automatically, feeling the calluses on Riley's palm, the warmth of his grip. "Marcus Chen, and I'm fine, just holiday stress." Riley didn't look convinced. His eyes were kind, observant in a way that made Marcus feel seen in a way he hadn't felt in months. "Let me guess, family dinner where everyone's going to ask about your love life." Marcus blinked. "How did you?" "Takes one to know one," Riley said with a rueful chuckle. "My sister's been on my case for weeks about bringing someone to the ranch for Christmas. Says I work too much, don't socialize enough." He shifted his weight, and Marcus noticed the scuffed leather boots, the honest wear of someone who actually worked in them. "She means well, but sometimes family doesn't understand that being alone doesn't mean being lonely." Something in Marcus's chest loosened, except when it does. The words hung between them, more honest than Marcus had intended. Riley's expression softened, and for a moment, they were just two strangers in a grocery store, connected by the universal experience of disappointing your family's expectations. "Tell you what," Riley said, and there was something almost mischievous in his tone. "This might be crazy, but hear me out. What if we helped each other?" "Helped each other how?" Riley leaned against the shelf, casual and confident in a way Marcus envied. "You need a date for your family Christmas. I need a date for mine. We're both clearly disaster gay men who can't seem to get our acts together in the romance department." He paused. "What if we went together as each other's fake dates?" Marcus stared at him. "You're joking." "I'm really not." Riley's eyes sparkled with something Marcus couldn't quite name. "Think about it. No pressure, no expectations. We show up, we're charming, we make our families happy, and then we go back to our regular lives. Clean, simple, mutually beneficial. That's insane. Maybe, but is it any more insane than what you were planning to do? Fake the flu, tell them you broke up with someone they've never met. Marcus felt his cheeks heat. How do you know I was planning? Because that's exactly what I was going to do, Riley admitted with a laugh. The sound was rich and genuine, and it made something warm bloom in Marcus's chest despite himself. But this seems like it might be more fun. Plus, my sister makes the best Christmas dinner you've ever had. I'm talking honey-glazed ham, homemade rolls, 3 kinds of pie. You're trying to bribe me with food. Is it working? Marcus looked at this stranger, this impossibly handsome, seemingly kind stranger, and felt the universe tilting beneath his feet. Every rational part of his brain screamed that this was a terrible idea. You didn't just agree to fake date someone you met in a grocery store. That was the plot of a romance novel, not real life. But then again, Marcus's real life had been pretty disappointing lately. Maybe a little fiction was exactly what he needed. When is your family dinner? He heard himself ask. Riley's face lit up. Christmas Eve, yours. Christmas Day. Perfect, so we've got 2 weeks to get our story straight. Riley pulled out his phone. Give me your number and we can meet up, go over the details, make it believable. Marcus found himself reciting his number, watching as Riley typed it into his phone with quick, efficient movements. This was happening. He was actually doing this. One condition, Marcus said, surprising himself with his own boldness. We keep it strictly professional, no complications, this is just a business arrangement. Something flickered across Riley's face, disappointment maybe, but it was gone so quickly Marcus thought he'd imagined it. Deal, Riley said, extending his hand again, partners in fake dating crime. Marcus shook his hand, and this time he noticed how Riley's grip lingered just a moment longer than necessary, how his thumb brushed across Marcus's knuckles before pulling away. I'll text you tomorrow, Riley said, backing away with that devastating smile still in place. We can grab coffee, go over our cover story, sound good. Yeah, Marcus said, his voice rougher than he intended. Sounds good. He watched Riley walk away, his confident stride carrying him toward the checkout lanes, and Marcus realized he was smiling for the first time in weeks. His phone buzzed again, another text from his mother. This time when Marcus replied, he typed, "Yes, Mom, I'm bringing someone. His name is Riley and I can't wait for you to meet him." The lie came easier than the truth had in months. What Marcus didn't know, what he couldn't possibly know as he finished his shopping in a daze, was that Riley Hayes had walked into that grocery store looking for coffee and walked out with something infinitely more dangerous: hope. And sometimes, hope is the most honest lie we tell ourselves. The next morning, Marcus sat in a corner booth at the Grindstone Cafe, checking his watch for the 3rd time in 5 minutes. Riley was late. Maybe he'd changed his mind. Maybe he'd woken up, realized how absurd this whole plan was, and decided to ghost the weird guy he'd met in the grocery store. Marcus couldn't even blame him. In the light of day, their arrangement seemed less like a clever solution and more like a Hallmark movie that had taken a wrong turn. The cafe door chimed, and Marcus looked up. Riley walked in, and even in the harsh morning light, he was stunning. He'd traded the Stetson for a simple beanie, but he still wore those boots, paired with dark jeans and a flannel shirt rolled to his elbows. He spotted Marcus immediately, his face breaking into that dimpled smile that made Marcus's stomach do uncomfortable flips. "Sorry I'm late," Riley said, sliding into the booth across from him. He smelled like pine and leather and something uniquely him. "Had to help my neighbor with a plumbing emergency, one of the hazards of being the only handyman on the block." "You're a handyman," Riley signaled to the barista before answering, "among other things. I run a horse ranch about 40 minutes outside Denver. Trail rides, riding lessons, that sort of thing. But I grew up fixing everything that broke on our property, so I end up helping out folks in town pretty regularly." A cowboy who ran a horse ranch, Of course he did. Marcus felt like he'd stumbled into someone else's fantasy. "What about you?" Riley asked as their coffees arrived, black for Riley, an elaborate oat milk latte for Marcus that made Riley's lips twitch with amusement. "You mentioned you work in marketing." "Senior marketing executive at Davidson and Gray," Marcus confirmed. "We handle campaigns for major brands, tech companies mostly. It's high pressure, long hours." "Sounds intense." "It can be, but I like solving problems, figuring out how to reach people." Marcus wrapped his hands around his cup, letting the warmth seep into his fingers. "Though I'm better at marketing other people's lives than managing my own, apparently." Riley's expression turned sympathetic. "The X. Is it that obvious?" "Only because I've been there." Riley took a sip of his coffee, and Marcus watched his throat work as he swallowed. 3 years ago, his name was James. We were together for 5 years, and I thought we were building a life. Turns out he was building an exit strategy. Met someone in Denver, someone with a real career who didn't smell like horses at the end of the day. The pain in Riley's voice was subtle but unmistakable. Marcus felt an unexpected surge of protectiveness toward this man he barely knew. "Their loss," Marcus said quietly. Riley met his eyes, and something passed between them, understanding, recognition, a shared wound that hadn't quite healed. "That's what I tell myself on the bad days. On the good days, I almost believe it." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, the cafe bustling around them, anonymous in the way that only city coffee shops can be. "So," Riley said, pulling out his phone, "we should probably get our stories straight. How did we meet?" "The truth," Marcus suggested. "Grocery store, you took pity on my obvious crisis." Riley laughed. "We can do better than that. What about, we met at a friend's party 3 months ago, kept in touch, started dating seriously about a month ago." 3 months ago, I was still with David," Marcus said without thinking, then winced. "My ex." "Okay, so 2 months, that's still believable. Summer wedding, mutual friend, we hit it off." Marcus found himself nodding, getting into the spirit of their fictional narrative. "What's my favorite thing about you?" Riley raised an eyebrow. "Getting detailed, are we?" "If we're going to sell this, we need details. My mother will interrogate you. She's Chinese-American, second generation, and she's got this way of asking questions that seems casual but is actually gathering intelligence." "Noted. Okay, your favorite thing about me is," Riley thought for a moment, his expression turning playful. "My cooking. I make a mean stir-fry." "Do you actually?" "No idea, but I can learn before Christmas." His grin was infectious. "What's my favorite thing about you?" Marcus hesitated. What would someone like about him? David had always said Marcus was too intense, too focused on work, not spontaneous enough. "Your laugh," Riley said softly, before Marcus could spiral. "When you let your guard down, you have this laugh that's completely uninhibited. It's real, that's rare." Marcus stared at him. "You've heard me laugh once." "Once was enough." The air between them shifted, charged with something Marcus didn't want to name. This was supposed to be simple, uncomplicated, a mutually beneficial arrangement between two strangers. So why did Riley's words feel like they mattered more than they should? "We should establish boundaries," Marcus said, his voice coming out more businesslike than he intended. "Physical affection, public displays, what are we comfortable with?" Riley leaned back, studying him. "What are you comfortable with?" "I don't know. Hand-holding seems reasonable. Maybe an arm around the shoulder. Nothing that seems forced." "And kissing?" Marcus's heart stumbled. "Do we need to?" "Depends on your family. Mine, my sister will definitely expect at least one kiss under the mistletoe. It's kind of a Hayes family tradition." Riley's expression was carefully neutral. "But we don't have to if that makes you uncomfortable." It should make him uncomfortable. Kissing a stranger as part of an elaborate ruse should feel wrong on every level. Instead, Marcus found himself wondering what Riley's lips would taste like. Coffee and something sweet. He'd be gentle, probably, but thorough. The kind of kiss that started soft and built into something that made you forget your own name. "We can figure it out as we go," Marcus said, his voice rougher than intended. "See what feels natural." Riley's eyes darkened slightly, and Marcus realized he'd noticed the shift in Marcus's tone. "Natural, yeah, we can do that." They spent the next hour going over details. Riley's ranch was called Silver Creek Stables. Marcus was allegedly learning to ride horses, a terrifying prospect that Riley found endlessly amusing. They'd been to 3 restaurants together, all places Riley actually frequented, so he could answer questions naturally. Marcus had supposedly met Riley's ranch hand, Tommy, and gotten along with him great. By the time they left the cafe, Marcus had pages of notes in his phone and a strange, fluttery feeling in his chest that had nothing to do with the caffeine. "Next step," Riley said, as they stood on the sidewalk, the December sun doing little to cut through the cold. "We should probably spend some actual time together, so we don't seem like complete strangers pretending to be in love." "What did you have in mind?" Riley's smile turned slightly wicked. "How do you feel about horses?" "Terrified." "Perfect. Come out to the ranch this weekend. I'll teach you the basics. We'll take a trail ride, get comfortable with each other. Sound good?" Marcus knew he should say no. This was already complicated enough without adding actual activities, actual time spent together. But when Riley looked at him like that, hopeful and warm and genuinely kind, Marcus found his resolve crumbling. "Saturday," Marcus heard himself say. "Saturday," Riley confirmed. He pulled a business card from his wallet and handed it over. Silver Creek Stables was embossed in elegant script, with an address and phone number below. "Text me when you're on your way. Dress warm. Bring gloves if you have them." Then, before Marcus could overthink it, Riley leaned in and pressed a quick kiss to his cheek. His stubble scratched slightly against Marcus's skin, and the warmth of his lips lingered even after he pulled away. "Practice," Riley said with a wink, "for authenticity." He walked away before Marcus could respond, leaving Marcus standing on the sidewalk, hand pressed to his cheek like a teenager after their first kiss. This was supposed to be fake, uncomplicated, a simple arrangement to get through the holidays without disappointing their families. So why did Marcus already feel like he was in over his head? He looked down at the business card in his hand, running his thumb over the embossed letters. Silver Creek Stables, Saturday. Marcus was pretty sure he'd just agreed to the best-worst decision of his life. And somewhere in the back of his mind, a quiet voice whispered that maybe, just maybe, this fake relationship was going to feel a lot more real than either of them expected. The GPS led Marcus down increasingly rural roads until pavement gave way to gravel, and the city skyline disappeared behind rolling hills dusted with snow. He'd left his downtown loft at 9 that morning, and now, 45 minutes later, he was questioning every decision that had led him to this moment. His Mercedes felt absurdly out of place, bumping along the dirt road, probably accumulating damage that would make his mechanic weep. But then he crested a hill, and Silver Creek Stables spread out before him like something from a painting. The main barn was weathered wood and river stone, with a steep roof designed to shed snow. Paddocks extended in every direction, separated by white fencing that stood out against the brown winter grass. Horses grazed peacefully in the weak December sunlight, chestnuts and bays, and one stunning black mare that lifted her head to watch Marcus's car approach. But what stole Marcus's breath was the main house. It was a 2-story log cabin that managed to be both rustic and elegant, with a wraparound porch and large windows that would flood the interior with natural light. Smoke curled from the stone chimney, and Christmas lights lined the porch railing, currently unlit but promising magic after dark. This wasn't just a ranch, this was a home, the kind of place people built lives in, raised families in, grew old in. Riley emerged from the barn as Marcus parked, and even from a distance, Marcus could see him smile. He was dressed for work, faded jeans, a thermal shirt beneath a canvas jacket, those ever-present boots caked with mud and hay. He looked comfortable in his own skin in a way Marcus envied. "You made it," Riley called, striding over as Marcus climbed out of his car. "How was the drive?" "Scenic," Marcus said, looking around. "Riley, this place is incredible." Riley's expression softened with pride. "Thanks. It's been in my family for 3 generations. My grandfather built the original barn back in the 50s. Dad expanded it, and I've been slowly renovating since I took over 5 years ago." He gestured toward the house. "Come on, I'll give you the tour before we get you on a horse." "About that," Marcus said, following Riley up the porch steps, "I should mention I've never actually been near a horse, like not even a petting zoo." Riley turned, eyebrows raised. "Really, city boy through and through." "Born and raised in San Francisco, college in Boston, now Denver. The closest I've come to nature is hiking Cherry Creek Trail." "Well then," Riley said, opening the front door, "today's going to be an adventure." The interior of the house was everything the exterior promised. Exposed beams crossed the vaulted ceiling, and a river stone fireplace dominated one wall, crackling with a fire that filled the space with warmth and the scent of burning pine. The furniture was worn leather and soft flannel, comfortable and inviting. Photographs covered the mantel, Riley at various ages, always smiling, often with horses or other people who shared his easy grin. Family, this house breathed family in a way Marcus's minimalist loft never had. "Coffee," Riley offered, heading toward an open kitchen with butcher block counters and copper pots hanging from a rack. "Please." While Riley busied himself with the coffee maker, Marcus studied the photographs more closely. There was Riley as a teenager, gangly and sun-browned, standing between an older couple who had to be his parents. Riley in his early 20s, arm around a woman who looked enough like him to be his sister, both of them laughing at something off camera. Riley more recently, sitting on a fence rail with the sunset behind him, looking peaceful and content. "That was taken last spring," Riley said, appearing at Marcus's elbow with 2 steaming mugs. "Right after I finally got the mortgage paid off. Best feeling in the world, knowing this place was really, truly mine." "It must have been hard work." 5 years of 18-hour days, learning to run a business while keeping the ranch operational. Riley handed him a mug. "There were times I thought I'd have to sell, especially after James left. Turns out heartbreak makes you throw yourself into work, which isn't the healthiest coping mechanism, but it did wonders for my profit margins." Marcus took a sip of coffee, strong and black, just like Riley drank it, and studied the man beside him. "You don't talk about him much, James." Riley shrugged, moving toward the window that overlooked the paddocks. "Not much to say anymore. We met in college, tried to make it work after graduation. He wanted city life, I wanted this. For a while we compromised. He lived in Denver, I'd drive in on weekends, but compromise only works when both people are actually happy with the arrangement." "Were you happy?" "I thought I was." Riley's reflection in the window looked pensive. "But looking back, I think I was just so focused on making him happy that I forgot to check if I was. You ever do that? Pour so much of yourself into someone else that you forget who you are without them." Marcus thought of David, of 3 years spent adjusting his schedule, toning down his personality, trying to be less intense, less driven, less much. "Yeah," he said quietly, "I've done that." Their eyes met in the window's reflection, and Marcus felt that connection again, that sense of being understood by someone who'd walked a similar path. Riley cleared his throat, breaking the moment, ready to meet some horses. The barn was warmer than Marcus expected, insulated by hay and the body heat of a dozen horses. Riley led him past stalls where curious heads poked out, velvet noses snuffling and eyes gentle and intelligent. "This is Dakota," Riley said, stopping at a stall that held a gorgeous Palomino mare. "She's my best trail horse, steady, patient, great with beginners." "She's beautiful," Marcus said, keeping a respectful distance. Riley noticed, "You can pet her, she won't bite, promise." Hesitantly, Marcus extended his hand. Dakota stretched her neck, and her nose was impossibly soft against his palm, her breath warm and sweet-smelling. Something in Marcus's chest loosened. "See," Riley's voice was soft, Not so scary. She's amazing. Want to help me tack her up? For the next 30 minutes, Riley taught Marcus the basics: how to approach a horse, where to stand, how to brush and check hooves, and eventually saddle up. Riley was patient, his instructions clear, his hands gentle when he guided Marcus through the motions. And Marcus was acutely aware of every point of contact. When Riley stood behind him to demonstrate how to tighten the girth, his chest pressed against Marcus's back, his arms bracketing Marcus's body. When he adjusted Marcus's grip on the brush, his calloused fingers wrapped around Marcus's wrist. When he praised Marcus for doing something right, his voice was warm with approval that Marcus felt all the way to his bones. This was dangerous territory. Marcus was supposed to be keeping this professional, maintaining boundaries. But boundaries were hard to maintain when Riley looked at him like he was genuinely impressed by Marcus's fumbling attempts at horsemanship. "You're a natural," Riley said, as Marcus successfully buckled the throat latch on Dakota's bridle. "You're a terrible liar." "I'm serious. Most first-timers are terrified, but you're actually engaging with her. That matters more than technique." Riley saddled his own horse, a tall bay gelding named Maverick, who seemed to match his owner's confident energy. Then they were leading the horses outside, into the crisp December air that smelled like pine and snow and possibility. "Okay," Riley said, positioning Dakota next to the mounting block. "Left foot in the stirrup, hand on the horn, swing your right leg over. I'll hold her steady." Marcus looked at the horse, then at the saddle that seemed impossibly high, then at Riley's encouraging smile. "Trust me?" Riley asked softly. And somehow, impossibly, Marcus did. He mounted awkwardly, his movements graceless compared to the smooth way Riley swung into his own saddle, but he made it. Dakota stood patient and solid beneath him, and from this height, the world looked different, bigger, more open. "How do you feel?" Riley asked, bringing Maverick alongside. "Like I'm about to fall off and embarrass myself." "You're not going to fall, I've got you." Riley reached over and adjusted Marcus's reins, their hands brushing. "Just relax into her movement. Horses can feel your energy, and right now you're broadcasting pure panic." "I'm not panicking." "Your knuckles are white from gripping the saddle horn." Marcus consciously loosened his death grip. "Better. Better now, just squeeze with your legs, gently, and she'll walk forward. I'll be right beside you the whole time." They set off across the property at a sedate walk, Dakota's gait smooth and rhythmic beneath Marcus. It took a few minutes, but gradually Marcus felt his body start to relax, to move with the horse instead of against her. The winter sun was bright despite the cold, and the air was so clean it almost hurt to breathe. "This is incredible," Marcus said, and he meant it. From horseback, the mountains seemed closer, the sky wider. He understood suddenly why Riley had chosen this life. "It's my favorite thing in the world," Riley admitted. "Being out here where it's quiet enough to actually think, where the problems are simple. Did the fence get fixed? Are the horses fed? Is everyone healthy and happy? It's not corporate politics or relationship drama or any of that complicated human stuff. It's just real." "Do you ever miss the city?" Riley considered the question as they followed a trail that wound through bare aspens. "Sometimes, I miss good sushi. I miss being able to walk to a coffee shop instead of driving 20 minutes. I miss," he paused, "I miss having people around who understand what it's like to be gay without it being a whole thing." Marcus turned to look at him. "Is it hard here, being out?" "It's Wyoming-adjacent Colorado," Riley said with a wry smile. "Most folks are live and let live, but you definitely feel like you're representing the entire LGBTQ community every time you go to town. Can't just be Riley who runs the stable, you're Riley the gay cowboy. And everything you do reflects on the community, whether you want it to or not." "That sounds exhausting." "Some days more than others." Riley guided Maverick around a fallen branch, Dakota following automatically. "But I've got good neighbors, and the ones who have a problem with me keep it to themselves. Small blessings." They rode in comfortable silence for a while, the only sounds the steady clop of hooves and the occasional bird call. Marcus found himself studying Riley's profile, the way he sat in the saddle like he'd been born there, the way his eyes constantly scanned the horizon, checking fences and tree lines with practiced ease. This was a man who knew exactly who he was and what he wanted. Marcus envied that certainty. "Can I ask you something?" Marcus said eventually. "Shoot. Why did you agree to this? The fake dating thing. You could have just told your sister you weren't bringing anyone." Riley was quiet for a long moment, and when he spoke, his voice was careful. "Because I'm tired of being the brother she worries about, the one who works too much and never goes anywhere and might end up old and alone in this beautiful place I've built." He glanced at Marcus. "And because when I saw you in that grocery store, looking so lost and frustrated, I thought, here's someone who gets it. Someone who understands what it's like to be successful in every way that matters on paper, but somehow still feel like you're failing at the most important thing." "Connection," Marcus said softly. "Connection," Riley agreed. "And I thought, even if it's fake, even if it's just for a couple of days, maybe we could both remember what it feels like to not be alone." The honesty in Riley's words hit Marcus square in the chest. This wasn't just about impressing family or avoiding uncomfortable questions. This was about two lonely people reaching for something that felt like companionship, even if they'd drawn a neat circle around it and labeled it temporary. "Riley," Marcus started, not sure what he wanted to say. But then Dakota spooked at something in the brush, probably just a rabbit, and shied sideways. Marcus, unprepared, felt himself slipping, his precarious balance failing. He had a split second to think this is going to hurt before strong arms caught him. Riley had somehow dismounted and crossed the space between them in the time it took Marcus to fall, catching him before he hit the ground. They ended up in an awkward tangle, Marcus half in and half out of the saddle, Riley's arms wrapped around his waist, their faces inches apart. "I've got you," Riley murmured, and his eyes were so warm, so close, flecked with gold in the winter sunlight. Marcus's heart was pounding, and it had nothing to do with the near fall. Riley's hands were firm on his waist, his body solid and warm where it pressed against Marcus's side. His lips were right there, slightly parted, and it would take almost nothing to close the distance between them. "Thanks," Marcus managed, his voice coming out breathless. For a moment, neither of them moved. The air between them felt charged, heavy with possibility. Riley's gaze dropped to Marcus's lips, and Marcus saw him swallow hard. Then Riley cleared his throat and carefully helped Marcus dismount properly, steadying him when his legs proved shakier than expected. "You okay?" Riley asked, his hands lingering on Marcus's arms. "Yeah, just startled." "Dakota's solid, but even the best horses have their moments." Riley caught Dakota's reins, rubbing her neck soothingly. "You did good, though, stayed calm, didn't freak out." "I was too busy being terrified to freak out." Riley laughed, and the tension between them eased slightly. But when they remounted and continued their ride, Marcus was hyper-aware of everything. The way Riley kept glancing at him to make sure he was okay, the protective energy that radiated from him, the way his smile seemed softer now, more genuine. This was supposed to be pretend, but it was starting to feel dangerously real. By the time they returned to the barn, Marcus was sore in muscles he didn't know he had, but also feeling oddly accomplished. He'd ridden a horse. He'd only almost fallen off once. By his standards, that was a success. Riley showed him how to untack and brush down the horses, and Marcus found he enjoyed the quiet ritual of it, the way Dakota's eyes half closed in pleasure when he found the right spot behind her ears. "She likes you," Riley said, working on Maverick in the neighboring stall. "How can you tell?" "She's leaning into your touch. That's horse language for you can stay." "I'll take that as high praise." After the horses were settled, Riley led Marcus back to the house. "Lunch, I make a mean grilled cheese." "You're going to feed me." "Part of the authentic ranch experience," Riley said with a grin. "Plus, you worked hard this morning, burning calories with manual labor and terror." The kitchen was warm and bright, and Marcus found himself perched on a bar stool, watching Riley move around the space with easy familiarity. He buttered bread, sliced cheese, added what looked like jalapenos and tomatoes from the fridge. "So," Riley said, not looking at Marcus as he worked, "your family dinner is Christmas Day. What do I need to know?" Marcus groaned. "Where do I start? My mom is amazing but intense. She'll want to know everything about you, your job, your family, your intentions toward her son. My dad is quieter, but don't let that fool you. He notices everything. And my younger sister Lily will absolutely grill you about whether you're good enough for me." "Are they okay with you being gay?" "They've been great about it, honestly. My mom had a brief moment of grief about not getting grandchildren the traditional way, but she got over it fast. Now she just wants me to be happy." Marcus accepted the plate Riley slid across the counter. The sandwich was golden and oozing cheese. "Problem is, her definition of happy includes me being in a stable relationship. Hence the fake boyfriend." Hence the fake boyfriend. Marcus took a bite and nearly moaned. The sandwich was incredible, gooey cheese, a hint of spice from the jalapenos, the bread perfectly crispy. "Oh my God." Riley looked pleased. "Good. I'm never eating regular grilled cheese again." They ate in comfortable silence for a few minutes, and Marcus found himself relaxing in a way he rarely did around new people. There was something about Riley that made him feel safe being himself, not the polished marketing executive, not the son trying to meet his parents' expectations, just Marcus. "What about your family?" Marcus asked. "What should I know?" Riley leaned against the counter, coffee mug in hand. "My sister Sarah is great. Married to a guy named Mike. They have 2 kids, Emma's 8, Noah's 5. They're loud and chaotic and completely adorable. My parents will be there too. Dad's a retired rancher. Mom taught elementary school for 30 years. They're traditional, but in a good way. Sunday dinners, family game nights, that sort of thing." "They're okay with you being gay?" Took them a minute to adjust, but yeah, they love me and they want me happy, same as your family, probably. Riley smiled. "Sarah will be thrilled you exist. She's been worried I've turned into some kind of hermit." "Have you?" "Little bit." Riley's admission was sheepish. "After James, I threw myself into the ranch. Figured if I couldn't make a relationship work, at least I could make this place successful. And I did. But somewhere along the way, I forgot that success isn't much fun if you've got nobody to share it with." Marcus set down his sandwich, struck by the parallel in their lives. "I did the same thing. After David, I took on 3 new accounts, restructured my entire department, made myself invaluable to the company. Thought achievement would fill the hole he left." "Did it work?" "For about 3 weeks. Then I realized I was just tired, tired of proving myself, tired of pretending I was fine, tired of going home to an empty apartment every night and wondering if this was all there was." The vulnerability in his own voice surprised Marcus. He didn't talk like this with anyone, not his friends, not his therapist, definitely not with a man he'd met less than a week ago. But Riley didn't look uncomfortable with the confession. He just nodded, understanding shadowing his features. "That's exactly how I felt," Riley said quietly. "Like I was waiting for my real life to start, but I couldn't figure out how to press play." They looked at each other across the kitchen, and Marcus felt something shift between them. This wasn't just 2 strangers helping each other through an awkward holiday situation anymore. This was 2 people recognizing themselves in each other, seeing their own loneliness reflected back. It was terrifying and comforting in equal measure. Riley cleared his throat, breaking the moment. "We should probably practice." "Let's practice what?" "Being a couple, physical affection, the way we interact. If we're going to convince our families, we need to be comfortable with each other." Marcus's mouth went dry. "Right, makes sense." Riley rounded the counter, stopping a few feet from Marcus. "Can I touch you?" Yes, the word came out rougher than Marcus intended. Slowly giving Marcus plenty of time to pull away, Riley stepped closer. He reached up and gently tucked a strand of Marcus's hair behind his ear, his fingers lingering against Marcus's temple. Your hair is longer than I thought, Riley murmured. Soft. Marcus couldn't breathe. Riley was so close, his body radiating warmth, his touch gentle but confident. When Riley's hand drifted down to cup Marcus's jaw, his thumb brushing across Marcus's cheekbone, Marcus felt his eyes flutter closed. Is this okay? Riley asked, his voice low. Yeah, Marcus whispered, it's okay. Riley's other hand came to rest on Marcus's waist, and he stepped even closer until their bodies were almost touching. Marcus could feel the heat of him, smell the lingering scent of horses and hay, and that uniquely Riley smell underneath. If we were really together, Riley said softly, I'd want to know everything about you. What makes you laugh? What keeps you up at night? I'd want to know your coffee order, which I already do, fancy oat milk latte, and your favorite movie and the last time something made you cry. Marcus opened his eyes. Riley was looking at him with such intensity, such genuine interest, that it stole his breath. The documentary about the gay men's chorus, Marcus admitted, made me cry 3 times. Riley smiled. I love that, what else? I'm scared of birds, like irrationally scared, pigeons, seagulls, all of them. Noted, no romantic picnics in the park. I talk to myself when I'm working on hard problems, full conversations, both sides. That's adorable. And Marcus hesitated, then forged ahead. I'm terrified that I'm going to wake up one day and realize I've built this perfect life on paper that feels completely empty in reality. Riley's expression softened. Marcus. I know, heavy for fake dating practice. No, Riley's thumb was still moving in slow circles against Marcus's cheek. I feel the same way. I've got this beautiful ranch, this business I built from nothing, and some nights I sit on my porch and wonder who I built it for. What's the point of having everything you wanted if you're experiencing it alone? They were standing so close now that Marcus could count the gold flecks in Riley's eyes, could see the faint scar above his left eyebrow, could feel Riley's breath against his lips. We should probably kiss, Marcus heard himself say, for practice. Riley's pupils dilated. For practice. So it's not weird at Christmas, when there's mistletoe or whatever. Right, not weird. But Riley was leaning in as he spoke, his hands sliding into Marcus's hair, and Marcus was tilting his face up, his own hands coming to rest on Riley's chest, feeling the solid muscle beneath the thermal shirt, the rapid beat of his heart. Their lips met softly, tentatively, just a brush of contact, testing, learning. Then Riley made a small sound in the back of his throat and deepened the kiss, and Marcus forgot how to think. Riley kissed like he did everything else, with complete presence and attention. His mouth was warm and tasted like coffee and something sweet, and when his tongue swept against Marcus's lower lip, Marcus opened for him without hesitation. The kiss went from gentle to heated in seconds, Riley's fingers tightening in Marcus's hair, Marcus's hands fisting in Riley's shirt, pulling him closer. This was supposed to be practice. This was supposed to mean nothing. But when Riley broke the kiss and rested his forehead against Marcus's, both of them breathing hard, Marcus knew with absolute certainty that this was the opposite of nothing. That was, Riley started. Yeah, Marcus agreed, because he couldn't form a more coherent thought. They stood there, foreheads pressed together, and Marcus felt the careful walls he'd built around his heart beginning to crack. This was supposed to be fake, but it was starting to feel like the most real thing in his life. Christmas Eve arrived wrapped in fresh snow and Marcus's mounting anxiety. He'd spent the week since his visit to Silver Creek in a state of confused anticipation. He and Riley had texted constantly, funny observations about their days, photos of Dakota and Maverick, random questions about favorite colors and childhood memories. It felt natural, easy, like they'd been friends for years rather than strangers playing at intimacy. But underneath the easy rapport was the memory of that kiss, the way Riley's hands had felt in his hair, the soft sound he'd made when Marcus had pulled him closer, the way they'd stood together afterward, neither wanting to be the first to pull away. They hadn't talked about it, hadn't acknowledged that it had felt like more than practice. And now Marcus was driving through a snowstorm to meet Riley's family, about to lie to people who were kind enough to welcome him into their Christmas. And he had no idea if he was more nervous about the deception or about spending an entire evening near Riley while pretending his feelings were fake. Silver Creek stables looked like a Christmas card when Marcus arrived. Every fence post was wrapped in lights, and the house glowed warm against the snowy landscape. Cars were already parked in the drive, a practical SUV and a truck that suggested Riley's family had arrived early. Marcus sat in his car for a moment, breathing deeply. He could do this. He'd pitched to Fortune 500 CEOs. He'd managed multi-million-dollar campaigns. He could handle one family dinner. The front door opened, and Riley emerged, backlit by the golden light from inside. He was wearing dark jeans and a burgundy button-down that made his eyes look impossibly warm, and when he smiled, Marcus felt his anxiety ease slightly. "You made it," Riley said, opening Marcus's car door. "I was starting to worry the snow would keep you away." "Takes more than a blizzard to scare me off." Marcus grabbed the wine he'd brought and let Riley pull him into a quick hug. "How are you doing?" "Nervous," Riley admitted quietly, his breath fogging in the cold air. "But glad you're here." The honesty in his voice steadied Marcus. They were in this together. Riley kept his hand on the small of Marcus's back as they walked to the house, the touch possessive and comforting in equal measure. It felt natural, which was both reassuring and dangerous. Inside, the house was transformed. A massive Christmas tree stood in the corner, decorated with what looked like generations of ornaments. Garland draped the mantel, and the scent of pine mixed with something delicious cooking in the kitchen. Christmas music played softly from hidden speakers, and children's laughter echoed from somewhere upstairs. "Riley, you didn't tell us he was so handsome." The woman who appeared from the kitchen was unmistakably Riley's sister, same warm eyes, same dimpled smile, though her hair was darker and pulled into a messy bun. She wiped her hands on her apron and pulled Marcus into a hug before he could even introduce himself. "You must be Marcus. I'm Sarah. God, it's so good to finally meet you. Riley's told us absolutely nothing, which means we get to interrogate you all night." "Sarah," Riley said, exasperated, "you promised to be normal." "This is me being normal. Wait until Dad starts asking about your intentions." She winked at Marcus. "Come on, everyone's in the living room. Fair warning, the kids are going to swarm you. They're excited to meet Uncle Riley's boyfriend." Marcus felt Riley tense beside him at the word boyfriend, but when their eyes met, Riley just gave him a small, encouraging smile. The living room held more of the Hayes clan. An older couple sat on the sofa, Riley's parents, clearly, with matching silver hair and kind faces. A man Marcus assumed was Sarah's husband sat on the floor with two children who were indeed eyeing Marcus with open curiosity. "Everyone, this is Marcus," Riley said, and his voice carried a note of pride that made Marcus's chest warm. "Marcus, this is my dad Frank, my mom Ellen, Sarah's husband Mike, and the two tornadoes are Emma and Noah." The next few minutes were a whirlwind of introductions and handshakes and questions from the kids. "Do you have a horse?" "No." "Why not?" "That's a great question." Riley's parents were warm and welcoming, and Mike shook Marcus's hand with genuine friendliness. But it was Ellen Hayes who really studied Marcus, her eyes sharp and assessing in a way that reminded him of his own mother. "It's wonderful to meet you, Marcus," she said, patting the seat beside her on the sofa. "Riley's told us a bit about you, but I'd love to hear more. How did you two meet?" And so it began. Marcus had practiced his lines, rehearsed the story with Riley until it felt natural. They'd met at a mutual friend's summer party, hit it off immediately, started dating casually, then more seriously. Riley made him laugh. Marcus made Riley think. They balanced each other. The lies came easier than Marcus expected, probably because they were threaded with truth. He did think Riley was amazing. He did feel more like himself around Riley than he had with anyone in years. And when Riley settled beside him on the sofa, his hand finding Marcus's automatically. The gesture didn't feel fake at all. Dinner was chaos in the best way. Sarah had indeed made an incredible meal: honey-glazed ham, homemade rolls, 3 kinds of vegetables, and sides that kept appearing from the kitchen like magic. The table was crowded and loud, with multiple conversations happening simultaneously, and the kids spilling things, and Ellen telling embarrassing stories about Riley's childhood. "There was this one time," Ellen said, her eyes sparkling with mischief, "when Riley was about 12. He decided he was going to train our rooster to be a show bird." "Mom, no," Riley groaned. "Oh yes, this rooster, we called him Satan, which should tell you everything, attacked everyone who came near the coop. But Riley was convinced he could gentle him with patience and love." "How did that work out?" Marcus asked, grinning. "He spent 3 months getting chased and pecked, until one day Satan went after little Sarah. Riley decided enough was enough, grabbed that bird, and they had what he called a come-to-Jesus moment." "I established dominance," Riley said defensively. "You held a staring contest with a chicken," Frank added, "and somehow won." "Satan became the sweetest rooster we ever had after that," Ellen finished. "Riley's always had a way with stubborn creatures who need someone to believe in them." Something about the story made Marcus's chest tight. He looked at Riley, who was blushing but also smiling, and felt a surge of affection so strong it almost hurt. Later, while Sarah and Ellen cleared dishes, Riley pulled Marcus onto the back porch under the pretense of getting fresh air. The Christmas lights cast a soft glow over the snow-covered property, and the night was clear and cold and filled with stars. "I'm sorry about the interrogation," Riley said, leaning against the railing. "My family can be a lot." "Are you kidding? They're amazing. Your mom is hilarious, your dad is sweet, and Sarah clearly adores you." "They like you too, I can tell." Riley turned to look at Marcus, and in the soft light, he looked almost vulnerable. "This is easier than I thought it would be. Having you here, it doesn't feel like pretending." Marcus's heart started pounding. "Riley, I know what we said, professional, uncomplicated, but Marcus—" Riley reached out and took Marcus's hand, threading their fingers together. "I can't stop thinking about that kiss, about how right it felt, how right this feels." "We agreed this was fake." "I know, but what if it doesn't have to be?" The question hung between them, heavy with possibility. Marcus wanted to say yes, wanted to close the distance and kiss Riley again, wanted to stop pretending that his feelings were part of an act. But fear held him back. Fear of getting hurt again, fear of wanting something real with someone and having it blow up in his face. Fear that Riley would realize Marcus was too intense, too driven, too much, just like David had. Before Marcus could respond, the door opened and Emma poked her head out. "Uncle Riley, Grandma says it's time for presents." The moment broke, and Riley squeezed Marcus's hand before letting go. Coming, squirt. The Hayes family took Christmas seriously. The tree was surrounded by perfectly wrapped presents, and the gift exchange was an orchestrated event, with Emma playing Santa, distributing packages one by one, while Noah documented everything with a kid's digital camera. Marcus hadn't expected to receive anything, so when Emma handed him a small package with his name written in Riley's bold handwriting, he was genuinely surprised. "You didn't have to." "Open it," Riley said softly. Inside was a simple leather bookmark, the kind you'd use for a well-loved book, but engraved on it in elegant script were the words, "For new chapters." Marcus looked up, his throat tight. Riley was watching him with those warm whiskey eyes, and the message was clear: this didn't have to end. They could start something new, something real. "Riley, My turn," Emma announced, and the moment was swallowed by the chaos of wrapping paper and excited children and family laughter. Later, after the kids had been herded to bed, and the adults settled in the living room with coffee and pie, Sarah noticed the mistletoe hanging in the doorway. "Oh, would you look at that," she said, her tone too innocent to be believable. "Marcus, Riley, you're standing right under it." "Subtle, Sarah," Riley said, but he was smiling. Family tradition, Ellen added, her expression matching her daughter's. You have to kiss under the mistletoe or it's bad luck for the whole year. Marcus felt everyone's eyes on them, felt the weight of expectation. But when he looked at Riley, he saw something that made his decision easy: hope. Guess we can't argue with tradition, Marcus said softly. Riley stepped closer, his hand coming up to cup Marcus's face. Guess not. This kiss was different from the one in Riley's kitchen. It was slower, sweeter, performed for an audience, but somehow deeply private. Riley kissed him like he was precious, like he was worth savoring, and when they broke apart, Marcus heard Sarah make an approving sound. Oh, he's a keeper, she said to Riley. Don't mess this up. I won't, Riley said, and he was looking at Marcus when he said it. The rest of the evening passed in a warm haze. Marcus found himself relaxing completely, laughing at Frank's terrible jokes, helping Ellen in the kitchen, listening to Sarah's stories about Riley's various romantic disasters over the years. He went through a phase in college where he only dated men who were emotionally unavailable, Sarah confided while they did dishes. Drove me crazy. I kept telling him, stop trying to fix broken people and find someone who's already whole. I heard that, Riley called from the living room. You were meant to, Sarah handed Marcus a dish to dry. But seriously, Marcus, you're good for him, I can tell. He's lighter around you, more like himself. We've only been dating a few months, Marcus said, the lie tasting sour now. Sometimes you just know, Sarah smiled. I knew Mike was it on our second date. He tripped while taking me to a fancy restaurant, face planted in a puddle, and instead of being embarrassed, he just laughed and suggested we go get burgers instead. That's when I realized, this is someone who doesn't take himself too seriously, someone I could build a life with. Marcus thought about Riley catching him when he fell from Dakota, about the way Riley had admitted his own loneliness without shame, about the bookmark with its message of hope. Maybe Sarah was right, maybe sometimes you just knew. When it was time to leave, Riley walked Marcus to his car, both of them reluctant to end the evening. Fresh snow had started falling, and the world felt hushed and magical. Your family is wonderful, Marcus said. Thank you for including me. They loved you. My mom specifically told me not to let this one go. Riley smiled, but there was uncertainty in his expression. Marcus, what I said earlier about this not having to be fake. I'm scared, Marcus interrupted. I'm scared of wanting this and having it fall apart, of letting myself feel something real and getting hurt again. I'm scared too. Riley stepped closer, snowflakes catching in his hair. But I'm more scared of letting fear keep me from something that could be amazing. You make me laugh. You challenge me. When I'm with you, I feel like I could actually let someone in again without losing myself. Riley, you don't have to answer now. We still have your family dinner tomorrow. But after that, when this arrangement is over, I'd like to try for real, if you want to. Marcus looked at this beautiful, honest, kind man standing in the snow, offering his heart with both hands, and felt his own walls crumbling. Okay, he whispered. Okay. Ask me again tomorrow, after Christmas dinner, and I'll give you a real answer. Riley's smile could have lit the entire property. He pulled Marcus into a hug, holding him close, and Marcus let himself sink into the embrace. Let himself imagine this could be his regular reality, coming home to Riley, being held like this, building something real together. Drive safe, Riley murmured against his hair. Text me when you get home. I will. One more kiss, soft and sweet and full of promise, and then Marcus was driving away. Watching Riley in his rearview mirror until the snow and distance made him disappear. His phone buzzed before he even made it to the main road. Riley, already miss you. Marcus smiled and nearly drove into a snowbank. Marcus's parents lived in a classic Denver colonial in a neighborhood where every house tried to outdo the others with Christmas decorations. Their home was elegant and tasteful, white lights, a wreath on the door, and his mother's prized collection of nutcrackers visible through the front window. Riley pulled up exactly on time, because of course he did. He was wearing dark slacks and a forest green sweater that made his eyes impossible, and when he smiled at Marcus, nervous but determined, Marcus felt his heart do something complicated. "Ready?" Riley asked. "As I'll ever be. Fair warning, my mom is going to interrogate you in Chinese. I took Mandarin in college. I'm probably terrible at it, but I'll try." Of course he spoke Mandarin. Marcus was in so much trouble. His mother opened the door before they could knock, her face lighting up at the sight of them. "Marcus, and you must be Riley. Come in, dinner is almost ready." The Chen household was different from the Hayes Ranch, smaller, more formal, with art on the walls and expensive furniture that wasn't meant to be used roughly. But the love was the same, evident in the way Marcus's mother fussed over their coats and his father appeared from the kitchen with appetizers, and his sister Lily bounced down the stairs to meet the mysterious boyfriend. "So you're the cowboy," Lily said, looking Riley up and down with undisguised assessment. She was 27 and worked in tech, with their mother's directness and their father's analytical mind. "I looked you up. Silver Creek Stables has excellent reviews." "You looked him up," Marcus said. "Obviously, had to make sure he was real and not a scam artist." She turned back to Riley. 4.8 stars. Impressive, though there was one review that said you were too handsome to focus on riding lessons. Riley laughed. That was probably Mrs. Henderson. She's 83 and writes that on every review. "I like him," Lily announced to Marcus. "He can stay." Dinner was elaborate. His mother had prepared enough food for 10 people, despite there only being 5 of them. Traditional Chinese dishes sat alongside American Christmas fare, a fusion that represented his family perfectly. And through it all, Riley charmed everyone. He spoke halting Mandarin with Marcus's mother, making her laugh and correct his tones. He asked Marcus's father about his work as an engineer, genuinely interested in the answers. He bonded with Lily over their shared experience of running small businesses in a corporate world. And he looked at Marcus like he was the only person in the room. "So," Marcus's mother said as they finished dessert, "Riley, what are your intentions with my son?" "Mom," Marcus said, mortified. "It's okay," Riley said, setting down his fork. He looked directly at Marcus's mother, his expression serious. "Mrs. Chen, I know we haven't been together long, but I can tell you that Marcus makes me want to be braver. He challenges me to think differently about my life, and every minute I spend with him feels like the best kind of adventure." The table was silent. Even Lily looked impressed. "Plus," Riley added with a smile, "he's the first man I've met who doesn't mind that I smell like horses half the time." Marcus's mother laughed, the tension breaking. "Well, that's honest at least. Marcus, you could learn something about directness from your boyfriend." After dinner, while their parents talked in the living room, Marcus and Riley ended up on the back deck, ostensibly to look at the neighborhood lights, but really to have a moment alone. "You were perfect in there," Marcus said. "My mom loves you, my dad loves you, even Lily loves you, and she doesn't love anyone. They're great. I can see where you get your drive from. Your dad was telling me about his patents, and your mom basically built her accounting firm from nothing." Riley leaned against the railing, looking at Marcus. "You come from strong people." "So do you." "Yeah, but I fit into my family's world. You carved out your own path. That takes a different kind of strength." Marcus moved closer, drawn by Riley's warmth in the cold evening air. "Riley, what you said at dinner. I meant it, all of it." "I know, that's what scares me." Marcus took a breath, steadying himself. "You asked me to give you an answer after tonight, about trying this for real." Riley's expression was carefully neutral, but Marcus could see the hope and fear warring in his eyes. "And I'm terrified," Marcus admitted. "I'm terrified of wanting this too much, of falling for you and having it end badly, of not being enough, or being too much, or somehow screwing up the best thing that's happened to me in years." "Marcus." "But I'm more terrified of walking away and spending the rest of my life wondering what if." Marcus closed the distance between them, taking Riley's hands. You said I make you want to be braver. You do the same for me, so yes. Yes, I want to try this for real. Riley's smile started slow and built into something radiant. Yeah. Yeah, no more pretending, no more fake dating, just us figuring this out as we go. Riley pulled him close, kissing him with a sweetness that made Marcus's knees weak. When they broke apart, both of them were grinning like idiots. Okay, but we should probably tell our families, Riley said, before they start planning our wedding. About that, Marcus winced. We have to tell them we lied. We have to tell them we lied about the timeline, but that we're actually together now, Riley suggested, because that's technically true. You're devious, I like that about you. They went back inside, and Marcus asked his family to gather in the living room. His mother immediately looked worried, his father concerned, Lily intrigued. So Marcus started, then looked at Riley for support. Riley squeezed his hand. We have a confession. When Marcus and I first started seeing each other, it wasn't entirely organic. Oh my God, Lily said, you met on Grindr. No, Marcus said, we met in a grocery store, but we sort of agreed to be each other's fake dates for the holidays, to get our families off our backs about being single. The silence was deafening. Then his mother started laughing, deep, genuine laughter that made her eyes water. Oh, sweetheart, I knew. You knew. You don't think I can tell when my own son is lying? Please, you told me about this boyfriend before you ever even had Riley's phone number. The timeline made no sense. She smiled at Riley. But I also saw how you looked at him tonight. That's not fake, so I don't care how you started. I care that you're here now. Dad, Marcus asked nervously. His father shrugged. Your mother told me 2 weeks ago she thought you were lying. We decided to wait and see what happened. Looks like what happened is you found someone good. That's all I care about. I'm slightly offended I wasn't in on the conspiracy, Lily said. But also, this is the best Christmas drama we've had in years. I approve. Relief flooded through Marcus, and he felt Riley's hand tighten around his. They'd been so worried about the lie, but what mattered was the truth underneath it. The June sun was warm on Marcus's shoulders as he led a trail ride through Silver Creek's property. He'd gotten his riding certification 3 months ago, and while he was nowhere near as skilled as Riley, he could handle the basic trails with confidence now. Dakota walked beneath him with her usual steady patience, and behind him, a family of 4 followed on their own horses, enjoying the summer morning. Marcus had never imagined himself here. 6 months ago, he'd been hiding in a grocery store, desperate and alone. Now he was living a life he couldn't have dreamed up if he'd tried. After Christmas, things had moved quickly. Marcus had started spending weekends at the ranch, then long weekends, then week-long stretches where he worked remotely. 3 months ago, Riley had asked if Marcus wanted to move in, and Marcus had said yes before the question was even finished. It had required restructuring his life, negotiating a hybrid work schedule, learning to balance city and country, finding ways to merge their 2 different worlds. But it was worth it. God, it was worth it. The trail ride ended, and Marcus helped the family untack their horses before heading to the house. Inside, Riley was on the phone with a client, but he smiled when he saw Marcus and mouthed, 5 minutes. Marcus took a shower, washing away the dust and sweat of the morning, and when he emerged, Riley was waiting with 2 iced coffees, one black, one an elaborate oat milk creation. How was the trail ride? Riley asked, pulling Marcus onto the porch swing. Good. The kids were scared at first, but by the end they didn't want to leave. Marcus settled against Riley's side, perfectly comfortable in a way that still sometimes surprised him. How was your morning? Booked 3 more summer camps. We're officially at capacity through August. That's amazing. Couldn't have done it without your marketing brain. Riley kissed his temple. You've made this place so much more successful. We make a good team. The best team. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the horses graze in the paddock, the mountains rising in the distance. Marcus thought about his old life, the downtown loft he'd sold, the 60-hour work weeks, the emptiness he'd tried to fill with achievement. This life was harder in some ways. It required compromise and communication and constant navigation between two worlds. But it was also fuller, richer, more textured with real feeling than anything he'd experienced before. "I love you," Marcus said, not for the first time, but meaning it more with each repetition. Riley turned to look at him, his eyes soft with emotion. "I love you too, even if you are still scared of chickens." That rooster looked at me like he wanted to murder me. Satan Jr. is harmless. Satan Jr. is an agent of chaos, and I will not be convinced otherwise. Riley laughed, the sound warm and familiar, and pulled Marcus in for a kiss. It still felt like the first time, electric and right and full of promise. "You know what I realized," Riley said when they broke apart. "That day in the grocery store, I wasn't looking for coffee. I was looking for you. I just didn't know it yet." "That's very romantic. Hallmark would be proud." "I'm serious. I'd given up on finding someone who'd want this life. Then you showed up, all stressed and beautiful, hiding behind cranberry sauce, and something in me just knew." Marcus's throat tightened with emotion. "I'm glad you're a terrible liar who can't mind his own business." "Me too." A car pulled into the driveway, Sarah and her family arriving for their weekly Sunday dinner. This had become tradition too, families blending and merging, creating something new and beautiful from two separate lives. As they stood to greet their guests, Riley caught Marcus's hand, threading their fingers together. It was such a simple gesture, but it contained everything. "I choose you, I'm here, we're real." Marcus squeezed back, his own message just as clear: "I choose you too, every day, forever." It had started with a lie, a desperate gambit to get through the holidays without disappointing their families, but it had become the most honest thing in Marcus's life. Sometimes the universe has a twisted sense of humor. Sometimes it sends you exactly what you need disguised as something temporary. Sometimes the fake thing becomes the most real thing you've ever known. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, the person you least expect walks into your life wearing cowboy boots and a smile that changes everything.